Hello, this is George Hutton, and you are listening to the Mind Persuasion podcast. Today we continue our study of Tung Fu, the art of interconversational reframes. Today we continue with our examples of many different reframes of many different objections. Today we start with chapter 15, and our objection for today is long-distance relationships equals failure. You can use these to overcome the idea that long-distance relationships never work. Pattern 1, metaframe. The things that make a relationship fail are really too big to pin down to any one thing. Pattern 2, change frame size. What part of being apart will cause the failure? How can we address that and overcome it? Pattern 3, apply to self A to A. I suggest you have a long-distance relationship with that idea. Send it to another country or something and tell it you'll call it back if you need it again. Pattern 4, apply to self B to B. I think it might be better if you let that idea fail in your mind so you'll have the energy to focus on how we can keep our relationship strong no matter what obstacles we might find. Pattern 5, reality strategy. How do you know exactly how many cohabitation relationships fail? How many long-distance relationships succeed? Pattern 6, model of the world. That's an interesting way of looking at things. I suppose that people with successful long-distance relationships would disagree with you. Pattern 7, intent. That you're worried about that is an indication that you want this relationship to succeed. And a desire for the relationship to succeed is the most important requirement for relationship success. Pattern 8, redefine A not equal to B. Long-distance relationships don't fail. They make relationships stronger because both parties know they need to put in extra work to make them stay strong. Pattern 9, redefine B not equal to A. What makes relationships fail is when either or both parties make assumptions regarding the other party's responsibilities. So long as we take the time to define what our respective roles are, nothing can break us apart. Pattern 10, counterexample. I'm sure that plenty of people whose relationships were made stronger by distance and being apart would disagree with you. Pattern 11, chunk up. Relationships must be able to withstand a whole host of obstacles. Find a couple that's been together longer than a couple of decades, and they'll have plenty of success stories regarding overcoming obstacles that are much bigger than being temporarily apart from one another. Pattern 12, chunk down. What exactly is it about being apart that makes relationships fail? We can still talk every day, Skype every day, unless the physical aspects of this relationship are the only thing that is important to you. Pattern 13, metaphor. The greatest love stories of all time involve a long separation between the loves that only served to strengthen their dedication to their relationship. Pattern 14, another outcome. Whether or not a long-distance relationship kills our relationship isn't really the issue. The issue is whether this is just a relationship of convenience or one that is so valuable to both of us that we are willing to do anything to maintain it. Pattern 15, consequences. If you are purposely looking for things to destroy this relationship, perhaps we should just end it now since you seem to want to move in that direction. Pattern 16, hierarchy of criteria. The more important thing is that we see what distance between us really is, just another obstacle to test whether we each feel this relationship is worthy of a lifelong commitment. I think it will only make us stronger and the precious time we spend together much sweeter. Pattern 17, take it to the threshold. So if I go take a shower and you can't see me or talk to me, the relationship will immediately self-destruct. If I go to the movies with my friends and we are apart for a few hours, when I come back, you will have already found another relationship partner. Are you the kind of person who needs absolute and constant reassurance that you are wanted and physically appreciated? Pattern 18, reverse presuppositions. How can the more we spend time apart make our relationship that much stronger? Chapter 16, love equals call me back immediately. This is when you get any kind of argument or objection that sounds like, when you don't return my calls or text immediately, it means you don't love me. Pattern 1, metaframe. Love is much more than being in constant contact. Pattern 2, change frame size. How long is too long? How short is short enough? Pattern 3, apply to self A to A. I don't love that idea because it means you don't love yourself enough to remind yourself of how much I love you. Pattern 4, apply it to self, B2B. Next time that idea tries to communicate with you, don't return its call for at least a couple of weeks. That will open up plenty of space in your brain so you can remember how much I love you. Pattern 5, reality strategy. How do you know? How do you know I don't enjoy anticipating calling you or texting you as much as I love hearing your voice or reading your words? Pattern 6, model of the world. That is an interesting model of the world. That means before phones were invented, nobody could love anybody. How did society manage to have families with husbands and wives that didn't love each other? Pattern 7, intent. I know you want reassurance that I love you, which is precisely why I wait to call you. I want to give you the gift of missing me, so you can build up that wonderful feeling of anticipation. Pattern 8, redefine A not equal to B. Not calling doesn't mean I don't love you. It means I love you so much I enjoy every second that I think about you when we aren't in contact. Pattern 9, redefine B not equal to A. You know who I don't love? My boss at work. If I don't call him back after 10 seconds, he screams at me for an hour. Man, I can't wait to get away from him at the end of the day. Pattern 10, counterexample. You know that feeling when we are apart and you hear a car pull up and you hope it's me but aren't quite sure? That anticipation and uncertainty? That is the most wonderful feeling that only lovers can experience. Pattern 11, chunk up. All love involves time together and time apart. Most importantly, that there be a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. That makes love so strong it's wonderfully unbearable. Pattern 12, chunk down. How long is too long? Do you love me at one point in time and then a few nanoseconds later, that love suddenly vanishes? How can your love for me be so ephemeral? Pattern 13, metaphor. The space between the notes is just as important as the notes themselves. Pattern 14, another outcome. Maybe it's not my immediate callbacks that are worrying you. Maybe you have doubts about our relationship. What can I do to prove to you that you are the one, the only one, the eternal one, and I will love you as long as I breathe and hopefully for all eternity? Pattern 15, consequences. If that is your only definition of love, does that mean that I never need to write poetry for you or take you on an unexpected vacation, or that I can't tie a piece of string around your finger to remember me by when we decide to get married? Pattern 16, hierarchy of criteria. I know you want to feel secure in our relationship as I do, and the best way I know how to do that is to keep that wonderful feeling of uncertainty alive as long as possible. If this relationship ever becomes predictable in any way, I fear I will lose this magical feeling I am experiencing right now as we speak to one another. Pattern 17, take it to the threshold. Maybe we should order some extreme long-range walkie-talkies and connect them to Bluetooth devices, so every single word that either of us says, no matter what we are doing, both of us will experience both of our lives in every detail in real time. Pattern 18, reverse presuppositions. How can the wonderful time in between calls and texts be the most wonderful love-generating times between us? I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion podcast. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.